Who makes the best semi-auto shotguns? We have Beretta's 1301, which is arguably the king of shotguns right now, and the cheaper but still awesome A300 Patrol. Mossberg's 940 series is quite nice for the price. Benelli has an entire line of inertia and gas-operated shotguns. But what about Savage? Savage imports and brands a lot of shotguns, but the Renegauge is the first they've built in 50-odd years. The Renegauge started as a sporting shotgun, and it kind of slowly evolved into an entire line of hunting shotguns for various hunting disciplines. Then we got a 3-gun variant, and finally the Security model. The Savage Renegauge Security provides a short and handy gas-operated semi-auto 12-gauge tactical shotgun. It's a bit of a dark horse amongst the various options from Mossberg, Beretta, and Benelli. In fact, there doesn't even seem to be a review of the Renegauge Security on YouTube. Kind of a sucker for smart marketing, and Renegauge is a very clever name, and I want to give them a hand. So the Renegauge uses the Driv system, or actually I'm going to call it the Driv system since it's D-R-I-V. That stands for Dual Regulating Inline Valve Gas System. The gun uses a dual piston setup to drive a ring rearward against a spring to allow the gun to cycle. The regulating part is the fact that the system siphons off excess gas before it even gets to the system. The gas is vented forward of the handguard. It's clever, and the system bleeds off excess gas to allow the gun to reliably cycle a wide variety of loads without being overgassed. So this reduces recoil, improves reliability, and is generally just a kind of a clever system. I've heard people say this is a copy of a Beretta system, but I can't seem to find a Beretta that uses something similar to this, so if you know of one, please let me know in the comments. Now with all the gas shooting forward of the gun's handguard, you'll actually start to see it, all the gas and carbon collecting on the handguard, on the M-lock slot, on the barrel, on the magazine tube. So you can tell it's working. So the gun uses a one-piece bolt carrier that's actually kind of a lighter weight way to do things. It's also reliable. And gas guns can get a little front heavy. The Renegauge is notoriously front heavy, but they did take some steps to mitigate this. All of the reciprocating parts are chrome plated. This is going to make them a lot easier to clean and probably also increase reliability. The bolt rotates to improve extraction. A buffer resides in the stock, so don't get your hopes up for a pistol grip only shockwave style configuration. So the Security model comes with an 18.5-inch barrel, and it is threaded for chokes. It uses the Beretta Benelli mobile pattern. The magazine holds 6 rounds of 2.75-inch ammo or 5 rounds of 3-inch shells. The gun weighs 7 pounds, which is fairly light for a gas-operated semi-auto 12-gauge. It's lighter than the Mossberg, but still heavier than that Beretta 1301. The gun comes with an adjustable rear ghost ring sight and a high-visibility green front sight. And you can also add an optic via a rail system, but it does look like you have to remove the rear sight to do so. The Renegauge Security has the modern ergonomics of a tactical semi-auto shotgun. The charging handle is nice and large, making it easy to use. The bolt release is massive, so it's easy to find and easy to use. The safety is large and sticks out fairly far. Again, it's easy to use. I keep repeating that. But that's what happens with modern semi-auto shotguns. They've gotten a lot easier to use. Everything clicks and pops rather nicely. The loading port is beveled enough to make reloads easy. It's on the competition side of large, so it's probably the same loading port they have on the 3-gun variant. While shooting this gun, I did focus a lot on reloads, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Overall, reloading is very intuitive. It's not difficult, and if you don't suck, it can be fast, but I kind of sucked a lot. Beyond the basics, the Savage Renegauge has a lot of clever ideas, and one that leaves me absolutely flabbergasted. Savage fluted the barrel, which seems odd, but addresses some complaints with gas guns being front heavy. So this is going to reduce a little bit of weight, and it does look cool. You know, vibes matter. So in hand, it does seem like it helped balance the gun a little bit better. It's still a little front heavy, but not obnoxiously so. If you read a lot of the Savage Renegauge reviews, they always mention how front heavy the gun is, but this seems to correct that. So there's a clamp that connects the magazine extension to the barrel and provides a dual set of M-lock slots. Unlike most of these clamps, this one is metal and stable enough to mount accessories without an issue. I kind of want these style of clamps for all of my shotguns. It would make mounting a light a lot easier on most of them. The furniture is fantastic in most ways. The foregrip is nice and long with plenty of room to grab the gun, and it has a great texture. The stock is doing its best to mimic the Magpul SGA in terms of design. We have that aggressively angled pistol grip combined with a standard stock configuration. This aggressive grip design makes it easy to hold the gun up with your firing hand only, like when you're reloading or navigating or whatever. So the gun won't dip, essentially, when you're trying to use your support hand to do different tasks. The gun comes with 3 different options for cheek risers, and this makes it a little bit easier to use optics. If you're putting like a tall optic on there, you're probably going to want to swap up the cheek riser. Now, like the Magpul SGA, you can also adjust the length of pull, but this is where Savage left me a little flabbergasted. While you can adjust the length of pull, the shortest length of pull is 14.25 inches. From there, you can add length and get the gun to 14.7 or 15.07 inches, but that's absolutely absurd. A 14.25 inch length of pull is standard for a sporting gun, but with tactical shotguns, shorter is typically preferred. This way you can get a good squared up to your target and better control the gun's recoil. Now, there isn't like a perfect length. It's usually dependent on the individual size. Most modern shotguns have a short position of 12.5 inches and typically can be expanded out to 14.5 inches. Personally, I'm in that 13.75/0.83 range, and I'm 6'5". So I have no idea why Savage would include these adjustments or why they wouldn't make a shorter stock. It's a serious downside to this gun, and I do think it's going to hold the gun back on the market. So whenever I review a gun, I do try to actually build my skills instead of just generally shooting the thing. So I've been working on violin loading with shotguns. It's something kind of new to me, and trying to do it with Safariland 2-shot pouches is interesting. In fact, if you watch me, you might as well add that Benny Hill music as much as I fumble. However, that's not on the gun. It's kind of on me from not really knowing what I'm doing. The loading port makes it easy to shove rounds into the gun, and when I got a little better at the violin loads at the end of the day, I was really amazed at how nothing got in my way as I shoved 2 rounds into the port. The competition-sized loading port makes this thing surprisingly easy to keep reloaded, even with traditional tactical loading techniques. I had no problem keeping the gun fed and getting it up on target. The drive system does seem to do a great job of regulating gas and deliver some nice light recoil for a 12 gauge. Everything from standard buckshot to 3-inch magnums handles quite nicely. The gun cycles cheap as dirt birdshot without complaint, and it doesn't beat my shoulder up. With that said, is there really a huge notable difference between the drive system and something like Benelli's Argo? Not necessarily. It might be a little bit softer, but at the end of the day, I don't think it makes a big difference. Now, with that said, I did shoot a couple hundred rounds through the gun in short order and never felt sore or beat up. The drive combined with the rubberized recoil pad makes it pleasant to shoot and comfortable to handle. Where the drive chokes is with the Fiocchi Defense Dynamics loads. The only malfunctions I had were failures to cycle this load. This is an 8-pellet #1 load at 1200 feet per second, 1250 feet per second. It's basically a reduced recoil 20 gauge load, and this isn't the first semi-auto shotgun that's had problems with it. Other than that, this gun worked without a problem. It cycles low recoil double-aught without a problem, including my favorite, which is Federal Flight Control, which is an 8-pellet load that's moving at about 1,145 feet per second. And it goes to the Renegauge without a problem, so it can cycle an actual 12-gauge reduced recoil load with no issues. Now, I already compared it to the Argo system, but I do think where the drive shines a little bit is that this gun allowed me to reach a new personal best for 2 shots on target. So I was shooting 2 rounds of buckshot, and this was just standard like 1350 or 1300 feet per second double-aught. So I fired 2 rounds from 10 yards in 0.64 seconds. That's a lot of lead in a very little time. Prior to that, I was in the 0.75 range or so with a semi-auto shotgun, give or take. With this gun, I stayed between 0.64 and 0.69. So maybe this drive system does have benefits that I'm just not really feeling in my shoulder compared to other gas-operated designs. The ghost ring iron sights are solid. I like ghost rings well enough, they're fine. But I do think a red dot would really spice this thing up. Luckily, the front sight is bright green, and as soon as you see that green blur on target, you can send lead and make your hits. Having such a bright front sight makes it easy to get the gun up and get on target, and if we step back to like 50 to 100 yards, the ghost ring iron sights allow for excellent precision with slugs. You can zero in with adjustments and create a nice small group within, most slug ranges. I'm not a big slug user, but I did find it easy to hit 10-inch gong at 50 yards and an IPSC target out to 100 yards. The Renegauge Security is a bit of a tactical shotgun dark horse. It's a solid gun that's reliable, fast shooting, and has low recoil. The ergonomics are mostly great, but that damn stock length makes no sense. With a slight redesign, Savage could run with the big dogs in modern tactical shotguns. Hell, they even include a nice case with the thing, which we don't often see. You know how many times you spend over $1,000 on a shotgun and just get a cardboard box? So with all this said, do I suggest the Renegauge Security? If you're a bigger guy that can handle the 14.25-inch length of pull, sure. If you're willing to take this to like a competent gunsmith and have the stock trimmed a little bit, sure. Other than that, it makes it tough to suggest when you have things like the A300 and the 940 that are roughly within the same price range that offer you a more competent adjustable length of pull. Now, this gun does have some benefits over both of those platforms, but they're a bit minimal and nothing you can't upgrade away, if that makes sense. So, for example, the ghost ring sights on this are better than the sights on the 940 and the A300. However, if I'm going to put a red dot on, does it really matter? Now, with that said, it is a good gun. It's not a bad gun by any means. Small things are holding it back, but I do want to know what you think. Let me know below. And I also want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. I'm recording this on Christmas Eve between the numerous tasks I have to accomplish today. So I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. I hope you're not too cold, and I hope Santa gives you everything you want.